Good evening, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, the Education Coordinator for Marlene's Market and Deli. Tonight's special guest that we have with us is Carl Anderson, Bach Flower Remedies practitioner and Bach Flower Remedies animal practitioner, here to speak on the topic Bach Flower Remedies for Quality of Life. Thank you so much, Carl, for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Shall I start? Okay, so I will open this up and open screen. Share screen. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right. One second here. Okay. So that's me, Carl Anderson, and we're here to talk about the Bach Flower Remedies. So I want to just introduce you to brief, we're going to skim over some of this material because there's more material than we can cover comfortably in an hour. But we'll talk a little bit about Dr. Bach's philosophy and outline the 39 flower remedies. We're not going to go into too much depth because that might just take too much time. And then we'll try to skim over the usage and the dosing and that sort of thing. And also let you know about further courses. So Dr. Edward Bach was a licensed physician in Britain, and he lived in the early part. He was born in 1886 and he died in 1936. And he was a very prominent doctor, but basically switched over to homeopathy and then created his own realm, which is flower essences, and devised the first systematized program of flower remedies. And in the mid 1920s, so almost 100 years ago. So there are 39 natural flower-based remedies. They're simple, they're safe, they're natural, and they're effective. They gently restore emotional balance and well-being. And they're suitable for the entire family, including pets and elderly, our grandparents, infants, it doesn't matter, okay? Emotions impact one's health. Disease is the result of a disharmony between the soul and the personality. That's a quotation from Dr. Bach in Heal Thyself. Traumatic events can trigger emotional imbalances. The energetic discord of not living in alignment with our higher power, that creates a discord, and that creates an energetic imbalance. And the first sign of these energetic imbalances are emotional imbalances. So they cause depression, anxiety, impatience, irritability, all kinds of things. So by using the emotions as a signpost, we can select the right Bach flower remedies to bring ourselves back into balance. And they resolve the underlying energetic imbalance that started it all, okay? What we know of this disease, the terminal stage of a much deeper disorder. The prevention and cure of disease can be found by discovering the wrong within yourself and eradicating this fault. So he's not trying to assign blame. He's just saying that we have the power to change things if we do some introspection and with honesty and clarity to figure out what's going on with our emotions, why we're feeling this way, rather than just taking a pill to cover it up, like antidepressants or anti-anxiety meds, which don't actually get to the root cause at all. You'll have to take those for the rest of your life. And they have all sorts of side effects and problems that are associated with them. If you don't, rather than doing that, you can actually do a little soul searching and figure out what's going on, why you're feeling what you are, or work with a Bach flower practitioner like myself to help you figure out. And then you can actually address it and deal with it and resolve it. So how do the remedies work? They're energetic or vibrational medicine. They're not herbal, and they're not aromatherapy. People think flowers, they're essential oils. No, they are not oils. They're basically in a water-based thing, and with brandy that just preserves the energetic footprint, like similar to homeopathy, of the flower. And each remedy resolves a specific negative emotional state. And we personalize blends of up to 7 remedies at a time. And if we use between 1 and 7 remedies in a treatment bottle, then there are over 15.3 million combinations. And to be exact, it's 15,380,297 different combinations. So it pretty much, it does cover the entire gamut of human emotion and also animal emotions. So there's nothing that the Bach flower, no emotional imbalance that the Bach flower remedies cannot work with. So the system is non-toxic. There are no side effects. You cannot overdose. They're not habit forming. You cannot develop a tolerance to them. So some things, some drugs that people take, after a while, they have to keep upping the dosage, or they lose their effectiveness because you develop a tolerance to them. That does not happen with the Bach flower remedies. There are no interactions between the Bach flower remedies and any other treatment. So you can take your antibiotics or antidepressants even, or whatever. And once you're feeling better, then you can maybe work with your doctor to wean off of those. They're completely safe for all ages and pets. So here, there are lots of different things that can create stress, right? And there are lots of ways to relieve stress, and some are more effective than others. But the Bach flower remedies, particularly Rescue Remedy, is the #1 selling natural stress relief product in the world. And it comes in many forms. It comes in liquids and dropper bottle. It comes in sprays. It comes in gum form and pastilles. And there's some gummies and some other variations now too. And Rescue Remedy is a combination of 5 separate remedies. Rock Rose, which is for terror. Impatience, which is for impatience, or that feeling that you just want to speed through the situation. I want to just get past it. Cherry Plum is for fear of losing control. So it helps you maintain composure so you can be rational and make sound judgments in a stressful situation. Star of Bethlehem works with grief and trauma and shock, which often accompany traumatic situations. And Clematis helps prevent you from dissociating emotionally so that you are still there and you can be present and, again, make sound decisions rather than trying to escape mentally. Okay? And Rescue Remedy is great for all kinds of things like personal crises, trauma, accidents, after car accidents or whatever. Might be a little rattled. They can help give you composure and bring you back and be sound. Exams. A lot of people freak out around exams. Doctor, dentist, and vet visits. They can also incite a lot of tension in people, and the remedies can be very helpful then. Public speaking, interviews, wedding nerves for everyone involved in the wedding party. And airplane travel, a lot of people are real phobic. So the rescue is fantastic for phobias, whether it's spiders, air travel, dogs, whatever. It's perfect for that. Traffic, so road rage, right? I always keep Rescue Remedy in my car as well, and I don't generally have a tendency to develop road rage, but I have been the recipient of it before, and that is very stressful too. So that's why I keep them there in the car. Rescue Cream has the same ingredients as Rescue Remedy, but it also has crabapple, which is a sort of a cleansing agent. It's for people who feel toxic or unclean. And it is wonderful for all sorts of topical conditions, particularly hot spots on pets. It's amazing for that. Rashes, for hives, eczema, psoriasis. It is unbelievable. I've had several clients who tried everything the doctors could give them for psoriasis or eczema, and none of it worked. But this got rid of it in less than a week. and they were blown away. So it's very powerful. And that's because most skin disorders have an emotional root about self-esteem, which is related to that crab apple. This is related to self-esteem as well. Okay. There's the 39 remedies. I'm including their 38 individual remedies and then rescue remedy. But rescue remedy counts, even though is comprised of 5 different remedies. When you're using it in a treatment bottle, it counts as one remedy. So you can put up to 7 different remedies. One of those is rescue remedy that contains 5, okay? But it still counts as one. The 39 remedies fall under 7 categories: fear, uncertainty, insufficient interest in present circumstances, loneliness, oversensitivity to ideas and influences, despondency and despair, and overcare for the welfare of others. Okay. That's why you skip that. So the fear category contains 5 remedies: rock rose, which is for terror; mimulus, which is for known fears, most fears that you can name, like a child who's afraid of the dark, a woman who's afraid of driving on the freeway, afraid of getting into an accident, whatever, things that you can name and you can identify. Cherry plum is for fear of losing control or losing composure. And sometimes people may actually feel like they're losing their mind. That is a way of losing composure. Right? So that also falls under cherry plum. Aspen is for undefined fears. So fears that you can't really identify. You just get this weird sense that something's off, and just a nagging little voice, or just an odd feeling. That's aspen. Okay. To differentiate from mimulus. Red chestnuts for overconcern for loved ones. So fear for your loved one's health, whether it's your daughter, your mother, or your pet. If you're really worried about your inner circles, not the starving people in halfway around the world, but in your inner circle, red chestnut is amazing to actually put it in perspective so that you can actually help them better. Uncertainty. Serato is for those who don't trust their own judgment, so they look for advice or validation from others. Okay, so they're always asking, what would you do in my situation, or what should I do? Scleranthus have trouble making decisions, and it's about anything. While the Serato freely asks for advice, Scleranthus types are usually embarrassed by their indecision. They try to hide it, and they don't share it freely. Okay, but they have a hard time making a decision, and it's ideal. It's really designed for a situation where you can narrow it down to 2 choices, a dilemma. That's the definition of a dilemma. And yet, some of my clients have been able to get down to 2, but then they're stuck. And if their life depended on it, they couldn't make a choice between those. And that's the classic definition of scleranthus. But it does help for anyone who, in general, can't decide, even if they're between 7 choices or whatever. Gentian is for those who are easily discouraged. So they might have bombed an exam, and they lose steam, and they just kind of lose all hope. Well, they're not quite hopeless, but they just kind of they lose motivation and drive. Okay, and gentian helps restore that. It's always traceable to a specific event, something that happened and led to that. Gorse is for hopelessness, and anybody who is suicidal, that's the ultimate form of hopelessness, right? But one doesn't have to be suicidal. One does not have to be depressed. Oftentimes people who are hopeless are feeling depressed, but it could be just in one area of your life. For instance, you might be just terrible with money, and you say, like, forget it. Like, it's just no. I'm never gonna accumulate a savings or wealth or whatever. That's still hopelessness, right? So gorse can help in a situation like that too. Hornbeam is for those who procrastinate. Uh, there are lots of different reasons. There's an easy answer for all of these. There's also then it can, if you go deeper, it can get more complex. So there are other reasons why people might procrastinate, but the most common surface level one is when people lack motivation to start a project. It's just like, nah, that Monday morning feeling, I don't feel like doing it now. I'll just put it off till tomorrow, right? That's hornbeam. Wild oat is for people who are uncertain of their life path. So these are major decisions, like what career path should I take, or what, do I want to change jobs, but not just a different job, but I want a new career, but I don't know what it is yet. I haven't found my passion. So oftentimes people who need wild oat are feeling a lack of purpose or a lack of passion in their life. And wild oat helps them identify that. In the insufficient interest category, clematis are daydreamers and they lack focus and they easily will daydream. And they also tend to plan for the future or dream about the future. Honeysuckle, the honeysuckle type dwells in the past and oftentimes can't get over. So they might be reliving the good times, like if they're an older person and they feel like their life is not as good as it was, and they might just be reminiscing about all the good times in the past, or somebody might be, reliving past trauma or bad experiences and can't move forward. Either way, honeysuckle brings you back to the present. Likewise, clematis brings you back to the present from the future, or from fantasyland. Wild rose is for those who are apathetic, and they aren't depressed, but they're not happy. They're just kind of blasé. Olive is for extreme exhaustion, mental, physical, spiritual, any form of exhaustion, especially after a major drain of some sort. Okay. White chestnuts for mental chatter or recurring mental arguments where people their mind is spinning, churning. White chestnut just quiets the mind. Mustard is for deep gloom for no reason. It can come and go on its own. It has a mind of its own and doesn't seem to be correlated to whatever's going on in one's life. Chestnut bud is for those who failed to learn from past mistakes, and it helps them learn the lessons so that they can move on from that instead of having to repeat them over and over. In the loneliness category, there's water violet for those who are very private and aloof. And they're generally very self-sufficient. So if you work with a water violet, they might not join in on happy hours and group lunches and things like that. They tend to kind of be loners, but they actually do get lonely. And they might be oftentimes they're very, like I say, self-sufficient and good at what they do. And people might ask them advice, but after a while, it feels like, oh, I don't want to bother them. Like I'm pestering them because, they kind of keep to themselves. So water violet allows some people to be more open to social interactions. Impatience is for those who are irritable and impatient. It's usually related to time, like road rage, right? That is clearly from time. You're in my way. You're blocking me. You're slowing me down. Get out of my way. Heathers tend to be focused on themselves. They tend to be very self-centered and talkative, and they talk mostly about themselves. They don't really ask many questions of you, but they can ramble on and on about themselves. Oversensitivity. Agrimony is for those who hide their problems behind a smile. That's the classic. Most comedians are agrimony types, and they might be hiding torment. They joke, they try to be the life of the party. They don't like to be alone. They want to be distracted from their own feelings. And when they are alone, they often they self-medicate and they abuse substances, whether it's alcohol or drugs, right? And the list of comedians who fall into that category goes on and on. John Belushi, John Candy, blah, 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 blah. Almost everyone you can name. Robin Williams had drinking problems before, and all kind, just about everyone. Centauri, weak-willed, and they tend to be subservient. They really want to. So agrimonies are trying to avoid problems. They don't like conflict. Centauries want to please others. They genuinely want to please you, and they will put your interests above their own. And that's not really sustainable over the long term, right? So it's sort of like when somebody's drowning, lifeguards always tell you, don't jump in after somebody's drowning. Go out in a boat and hand them an oar, throw them a rope. But if you jump into the water, they'll take you down with them, right? So centaurs are weak-willed and then have a hard time setting boundaries. They genuinely want to please. Walnut helps with a few things. It helps adapt to change, and it also helps shield from others' influence. So if somebody's trying to pressure you into doing something that you don't want to do, walnut helps you stand your ground and sort of protect you so that you feel safe in voicing your opinion or just turning them down, Holly is for hatred, jealousy, and suspicion. So suspicion includes, for anyone who's paranoid, that's extreme suspicion, right? So despondency and despair. Willow is for resentment, and resentment over time can turn into bitterness. So those are both covered and reduced by willow. Larch is for those who are lacking confidence and helps them gain confidence. Pine is for guilt. Elm is for people who feel overwhelmed because there's too much quantity to do. If there was work that was beyond their capabilities and they're down, that is really because they're lacking confidence, right? So that would be large. But if the work is something that they could comfortably do on their own, but there's just too much of it and there's no way to do it in the time frame, that is elm. Sweet chestnuts for those who are experiencing exasperating mental anguish. So they keep trying. They will not give up. They keep trying, but nothing they do seems to work. So it's a very frustrating state, and it can be very, very demoralizing, but they don't give up. In many ways, it would be easier if they did give up, but they don't. And it's just like, has God forsaken me? That's sweet chestnut. Star of Bethlehem for the after effects of trauma, grief, and shock. Oak is for those who are exhausted but struggle on, and they often feel a very strong sense of duty or responsibility. So they're the responsible one, and they will take on things if other people don't if others don't come forward, they will just do it. And they oftentimes have a hard time setting work-life balance and will keep going until they collapse. Crabapple, for those who feel toxic, dirty, they obsess over details. They also may have very, very low self-esteem, might have body image issues, body shame. That's all crabapple. Overcare for the welfare of others. Chicories are bossy and needy and manipulative. So they try to, they might be very nice to you, but there's usually a tit for tat. There's an expectation that you will do something for them. I did this for you, so you owe me. They rarely are altruistic and do things out of the goodness of their heart. There's this expectation that's always attached. The helicopter moms, it's about their own need to be needed, it's not about genuine concern. Of course they care about their kids, but they're their nosiness and involvement is out of control. And it's all because it makes them feel important. You need me. See where you'd be without me. Vervain is for those who are overenthusiastic, and when out of control, they can actually really be overbearing. Think of most political campaigners who, knock on your door, or religious, you know, proselytizers, whether it doesn't matter what denomination, they knock on your door and it's like, and they want to try to convert you. That is vervain. Vine is for those who are assertive and demanding. And when out of control, when it's in the negative state, they can become very like bullies, schoolyard bullies. They could be this um, over demanding boss who's critical and demanding. Just do it my way. It's my way or the highway. That's all vine behavior. Beach is for those who are critical and intolerant, critical or intolerant, either one or both. So if you don't, if somebody's manners just really turn you off, that the chances are you need beach. You're being overly critical of them, not even giving them a chance. Rock waters for those who are inflexible, and that includes perfectionists. They're very hard on themselves. They're harder on themselves than they are to others usually. So, they trying to attain perfection. So we covered all 39 very quickly. That's the fast track. That's why I'm speaking so quickly. Using the remedies. The remedies are great for emergencies. So people automatically think of rescue remedy for all emergencies. But you could have an emergency where you accidentally insulted somebody and you might feel guilt. So if you happen to have a full set of remedies, the remedy for that is pine. And you could take pine as an emergency remedy for that situation so that until it clears. Passing moods, long-term situations, and then life patterns and personality traits. And as we go down this list, the chances are you'll need to take the remedies longer for each one of those. Life patterns and personality traits, you probably will have to keep those under control for a whole lifetime because you may not take them long enough in a lifetime to process them fully. Situational use. Passing moods, take 2 drops of one or more individual remedies directly from the stock bottle on your tongue or in a glass of water or whatever you're drinking. Put it in your coffee, tea. Unlike homeopathy, which is neutralized by coffee or mint tea, anything with strong fragrance or smells or taste, the flower remedies are immune to that. And whenever you use rescue remedy, you take 4 drops. And the reason is because it's a combination of 5. You want to make sure that there's enough, you're getting enough of each. Long-term use. For long-term use, you can create a personal mixing bottle, and you can't see that, can you? Can you see it? Let's see. I don't know what color. I probably can't. Anyway, 1 ounce treatment bottles. They carry them at Marlene's, and you can buy a treatment bottle there. And you can select up to 7 remedies to combine in one bottle. You can fill that bottle with water, spring water, preferably, up to the shoulder. So right where the bottle starts to narrow, right at the shoulder there. If you fill it too much and you put the remedies in, then you put the dropper in, it might spill out. You might lose all the remedies, so you might have to start over. So you want to allow a little space there, an air gap. And 2 drops of each remedy or 4 of rescue. And then take that, if you take 4 drops out of that treatment bottle 4 times a day. That's a standard dose. And ideally, the first dose should be first thing in the morning and the last dose last thing at night. For people who are sensitive to alcohol, the remedies can be added to hot liquid like hot coffee or water or tea. And it wouldn't take very long for the trace amount of alcohol to evaporate. Or you could use them topically by spraying them. And I think Marlene's carries some spray bottles too. It's small, they do, yeah. So there are specific bottles made for that. Oops, That's not, I'm supposed to see that one. Okay, we're not going to go through these. These are two. We're going to speed through those, the individual. So, um, what next? So ideally, it would be great for you to experience the positive effects of the remedies. And you can, if you jotted down some remedies from this presentation, great. If we went too fast, you can go to my website and look up descriptions, or there are lots of books on the flower remedies. There's also a lot of misinformation about them. So I would, at the end, in the next couple of slides, I'll show you the three books that I highly recommend that are very simple and short and to the point. So you can learn more about the remedies, or you can also work with a practitioner. You can work with me or somebody else. And then there are courses and books that you can use. I am teaching courses. I have a level 1 introduction to Bach Flower Remedies for people. This is just covers people. October 19th, and that's in person in Seattle. This, that's next month, isn't it? Wow. And later this month, there's a level 1 for pets and their people. So that covers people and animals and the basics of animal behavior. That's going to be online over September 21st, later this month, the 21st and 22nd, and 28th and 29th. So it's 4 half days, and that'll be 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that'll be online over Zoom. Then if you were to complete either one of those, you can go on to level 2, and that's going to be in person in Seattle, November 2nd and 3rd. And then later on, I hope to be offering a level 3. I do teach level 3, but I haven't had enough people to put a class together in the last year. So if there's enough demand, I will offer it whenever. So the books that I highly recommend, these Heal Thyself is Dr. Bach's philosophy. It's a really interesting book, and it's timeless. I think a lot of people would really benefit. It's really a booklet. It's a very thin book, like maybe 50 pages, and it's tall, skinny thing. So it's really probably about 15, 20 pages and of a normal book. And the 12, that's great read. The 12 Healers talks about the individual remedies and what they're for. Okay, gives a pretty good description of that. And then there's another book called The 38 Flower Remedies by Dr. Bach and Judy Howard. And this is also very good. And that's the orange book. I think, do you have those in stock? Okay, Elizabeth said, I think she's saying, I think so. So I believe, anyway, those are the three books. If you can't find them there, you could I'm sure if you Googled or look on Amazon, you could probably find them as well. Those are the only ones. There are a lot of other books that try to complicate the system, and that people are trying to put their own spin on it. And quite frankly, it's completely unnecessary. And Dr. Bach wanted it to remain simple and pure. So the courses that I teach are all approved by the Bach Center, and you can actually become a practitioner and be registered on the International Registry of Practitioners. And so here is my information. This is my name, and this is my website. This is my email and my phone number, and this is the Bach Center's website. So on my website, it's a lot easier to navigate than the Bach Center's. The Bach Center's is fine. It's a good website, but there's almost too much information, and it's gotten cumbersome to find information. So, and they just changed the registry. There was a search to be able to search for practitioners in your local area, and they just changed it, and it's not working as well as it used to. So at any rate, mine is pretty straightforward, pretty simple, and it's a lot easier to find things. And I have a lot of useful information on there. There are some great blog articles about specific things, like suggestions for Bach Flower Remedies for eating disorders or for learning disorders, or for addiction. And again, the best thing to do is obviously to see a practitioner, but I know that that does cost money, and not everyone can afford to. So rates are not that bad. They're very affordable, much less than seeing a counselor or a therapist. But still, if people want to do it themselves, there's tons of information on my website to be able to find and get suggestions, and in those blog articles. All right. Any questions?
Yes. I have a question. Um, with with the rescue remedy, I know you've mentioned this before. There's a kids formula that is non-alcohol based,
Correct.
correct?
Right.
So that would be best for like recovering alcoholics and kiddos and um so the pets rescue remedy, is that also glycerin based or alcohol
It's
based?
alcohol, it's glycerin. So they are identical. So the kids and the rescue kids and the rescue pets are identical. They're just the only difference is the packaging and the labeling on the inside and on the bottle and the box. It's kind of funny because my pet store, now that weed has been legalized, you know, here, it's kind of annoying. Um, Before the 4th of July, I happened to be at the pet store buying some food, and somebody was wanted something for it, and they suggested these CBD things for dogs, and I'm like, drugging your dog, really? It's like, and so I actually piped up and said, like, why don't you use Rescue Remedy? She said, oh, we don't carry that anymore, rescue pets. Um, and I was like, why? And she said, well, people were buying it and using it themselves. It's like, so what? Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not like, oh, people can't use it. It's exactly the same thing as people, but they're just so ignorant about it. It really annoys me. So they're the same thing. You can take, if you have rescue pets, you can give it to your child. Obviously, if you rolled the pipette in your dog's mouth, then it might get germs on it. But if you didn't do that, it's been kept basically sanitary, it doesn't matter. It's exactly the same thing as the kids. And likewise, the kids formula can be used on your pets. You can still use the alcohol formula for most animals because we're not talking about very much. Especially if you do have a treatment bottle, you could fill it with water, put 4 drops of the rescue in there, and then you could use 4 drops of that, just diluted rescue remedy for your pet also. And so the amount of alcohol is almost negligible at that point, right? So there are a lot of ways you can get around that too. Now I have a couple full sets of the entire, all of the remedies that are glycerin based specifically for people who are avoiding alcohol for religious reasons, like a lot of Muslims and some uh, Jains, certain groups, Indian religions, Zoroastrians, I think, avoid as well from Persia, and then for alcoholics, recovering alcoholics. So all of them are made. They are all available, and they just started. They weren't sold in the United States. The individuals only the rescue remedy, but just in the past year, they've started selling those individual remedies. Also, only through Amazon at the moment, I believe. But you can buy agrimony or cherry plum that's glycerin based. And I don't think they've supplied them to the stores yet. Is that correct?
You know,
No,
I
they were launching it on Amazon only.
I'll definitely have to check that out. Um, I I had gotten my best friend, her dog, some of the rescue remedy pets.
Mhm.
She is an obsessive anxiety licker of the paws, and I was like, hey, just try this. And within less than 15 minutes, she calmed down and was able to not obsessively lick her paws. It's impressive.
Does she still lick more than she should?
Not when she's given the dose. She would just
Good,
completely chill
good,
out.
good. So for cats who do that, the crab apple,
Ah,
I would add crab apple because that is obsessive behavior, and crabapple will usually get rid of that. But if the rescue by itself worked, then it's just the fear and the anxiety. So that's great. They're very powerful. Um, they're very extremely gentle, but they have profound effects. And I just, I have a client in Florida who has a dog. She wrote after the 4th of July. She said, "Oh my God, this is amazing." Her dog had all kinds of issues, and we've worked through them. And then some other things came up later on, and we worked through them again. And she's like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." But she wrote it right after the 4th of July, saying that she couldn't believe it. Her dog used to like really freak out because of all the fireworks and things. And she said that this year he just curled up. And it was a she, actually, Gracie. She just curled up and she slept through it all. And it's completely unfazed. And she's like, "It's a miracle."
it's amazing. I've actually had the pastels given to me by my grandmother when I was in high school for my exam taking. I had
Great.
major exam anxiety. I would study so hard, and as soon as that test was in front of me, all the information would just go out of my head, and then I'd panic more.
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember what it was called. Then I
Wow.
started working at Marlene's, and I'd seen it
Yeah.
on the shelf. I was like, I recognize that.
Wonderful.
And I always carry my Rescue Remedy spray with me everywhere, especially when I'm doing music shows and I get that stage fright.
Oh, yeah. Great. Well, that's amazing. You're so lucky that you had an enlightened grandmother.
Oh,
I
yes, it
I
was
mean,
the best.
my grandmother was amazing. One of them in particular was amazing, but she didn't know anything about these and couldn't help me. I wish that I had been acquainted with these 30 years earlier because they're quite amazing. They would have saved a lot of, anxiety and stress over the years. So anyway,
And it's the best when um like you sharing with us tonight that there's all natural options out there that's from the earth and and they're non-habit forming like you were saying, and there's so many different variations. How, how many different ones was it, like
over 15.3 million
that's
combinations.
that is
One little
incredible.
box of remedies, you can, and that's anywhere from, and that's not repeating. So that's using agrimony and then holly, and counting holly and agrimony. It's like by like eliminating duplications, there are 15,387,000 or something. Um, it it's amazing. They really do work. Let's do this here. There we go. Just go back to the beginning to tell you the total number. Why isn't
Yeah,
that showing?
so there's so many different variations that you can have for any kind of situation that you're going through life.
All
And
of them. Here,
yeah. Oh yeah.
15,380,297.
Wow. That is incredible.
Yeah. And
Well,
that's using 7 remedies.
oh yeah.
Just
And we have at Marlene's all the bottles. Didn't you say that we have like the biggest selection?
yes, you do. I discovered like they used to be the whole line of individual all the individual remedies used to be in every health food store, in Sprouts, Whole Foods, everywhere. Um, PCC Markets used to carry them. Zenith Supply, which is a massage store in Seattle, used to carry them. The Madison Market and the Tacoma. It's now there's a co-op in Tacoma which is affiliated with Madison Market. They used to carry them all. Whole Foods pulled out everything but Rescue Remedy and the Rescue line. about 5, 6, 7 years ago. And then immediately within a year, all the other stores did the same thing. Um, but what's interesting is, yeah, you guys have the only place I know that carries the full line. I think there's one store that I ran across recently in Pike Place Market in downtown Seattle that does have the individual remedies too. It's a little nutrition shop tucked away on this, second level down. But otherwise, it's just you guys, and you guys have such a great commitment to it. It's nice because these things are amazing. They really are amazing, and they work. It's not just a gimmick. They really um, I've had people sneak remedies to children who were suicidal, and they didn't even know that they were getting them, and they work. And the changes in animals are just dramatic. They respond super quickly, and like if you know what you're doing and you can really kind of figure out what they're feeling, then they work because they're not resistant to it. They embrace it. And I've had people tell me that, like, I think Gracie was one of those where their animals they don't have to fight them to give them the remedies. Like they can just put it in their hand and they lap it up. They see them grabbing the bottle and they run to them because they like them. It's like it's amazing. So they know they feel it and they make a positive association with it. It's really kind of funny. So
And that's amazing too, because it's like animals, they can't say, "Oh, this is great." You know, they show that they
yeah,
love it.
yeah,
And it's like the synergistic vibrations of, the plants, and they know that it's good for them and they lap it up.
yeah. It's really kind of cool.
Super neato. Oh, well, thank you so much, Carl. I always appreciate working with you, and you always have a fabulous presentation, and it inspires me every time.
Well, thank you again. Thanks for having me. I appreciate your commitment to them because these can they really help people. So
Well, and thank you for all the work you do. And so, folks, if you're wanting a personalized Bach Flower Remedy, definitely reach out to Carl here. And then also we have the individual bottles there at both Marlene's locations.
yeah,
Well, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Take
thank
care.
you all.
Good night.
There's my info again if anyone wants, and the Box Center's website.
Thank you.
All
So
right,
reach out to Carl. Thank
all right. Thank you.
you.
Okay, bye bye.